Alrighty, everyone can see my slides, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is now, like for the longest time, we've been kind of quite negative about the internet, right? Like you probably feel like we've been kind of saying a lot of crap about the internet, right? But I just want to also at this point kind of talk about how much of an amazing invention it is, right? Like although it has all these problems, like no other time in like human history have we had this much access to information, right? It's connected the whole world together, right? It's brought us all a little close to each other, right? It's given us access to almost like every piece of human knowledge imaginable, right? It's insane, right? It's so insane that we even name this period we are living in called the information age, right? But the question is, with all this information, are we getting smarter? What do you guys think? Do you all feel like with this much access to information, right? We never had this much access to information ever in human history, right? Do you feel like you're getting smarter or dumber, or like, what do you guys feel?
I'm not.
Very honest answer. Let's just do a quick, either raise your hands or something, or use the Zoom thing. How many of you think society is getting smarter?
In general.
In general. How many of you feel like society is getting dumber?
Okay, just Janet, is that
smart? I think Janet was smart.
It was a
Okay, so I don't know whether you guys would agree, but this is my take on it at least, right? I feel like intelligent people who can kind of figure out how to navigate all this information are getting smarter, right? So really intelligent people who can manage this information are getting smarter, and those who can't are getting dumber, right? And that's the truth, I feel like, at least. I feel like the gap between the smart and the dumb is widening, right? And that's not a good thing. Because once that happens, what happens is, there's a lot of room for exploitation. So I think we all need to sort of improve our information diet and how that's basically how and what we consume in terms of our information, right? And it's super important because of this widening of this information gap, right? So part of trying to kind of improve our information diet is also understanding the different types of misinformation. So this is a quick recap of what Sanjit talked about in the introductory workshop, right? So first, if you remember, we talked about partial information, right? So this is content that is true, but only part of it is shown, right? So classic example are like clickbait articles, right? So we have political articles like this. There's a lot of health articles like this, right? How many of you all have seen things like, on one day you open, like you go on the internet and it says like milk or eggs is, are bad for you, right? And then the next day you go to the internet, it says, milk is good for you, right? And the thing is, when you actually read the articles, you see that, the devil is in the details. They've done some experiments with a few people who drank a lot of milk and as a result, it was bad for you or something like that. But the article headline itself is just giving you part of the information. Then we also have distorted information, right? This is where there is some piece of truth, but it's exaggerated, right? Or distorted or changed for people's own, benefit. So example, I think Chris was pointing out is how, there are stories in Tamil newspapers, for example. And when they are kind of excerpt into either single or English newspapers, they sometimes distort the facts in the way it has been said, right? And this can also be, just stuff lost in translation, or it can also be intentional sort of misinterpretation and distortion of information. Then we also have conspiracy theories, right? These are basically these beliefs that there are like powerful secret groups responsible for things going wrong or things happening in the world, right? Now, the scary thing about these conspiracy theories are that they're usually based on pieces of truth, right? And they link these pieces of truth in a very false way to create a false story. Right, so a simple example of this is the idea that China intentionally released the coronavirus, right? So just to understand how conspiracy theories work, let's just look at like some of the true information, right? We all know that the virus started in Wuhan, right? We all know that there was a virus lab in Wuhan that was studying coronaviruses. We also know that China managed to control the virus really quickly before anyone else in the world, right? We also know that China started to export the vaccine everywhere and gained a lot of like sort of international clout because of that, right? So, and on top of this, China has been very secretive about everything, right? So, because of all these true facts, right, some people jump to the direct conclusion, right, that China intentionally released the virus, right? Now, this could be true, but we don't have the information to make this conclusion, right? That's a jump in terms of the information, right? So there are two pieces of information, but it's woven into a narrative that we can't confirm, right? And that's an example of a conspiracy. Then, of course, we have like complete, outright, like crap and bullshit, for better terms, right? Just falsehoods, right? So we have things like the Damnita Pania scheme curing corona and things like that are absolute false, right? So now the thing is, all these types of misinformation is very blurry to define, right? It's really hard to categorize this misinformation. But what can be really useful is understanding why misinformation exists in the first place, right? So one particular reason misinformation pops up is because when there are complicated topics that are really hard to understand, people tend to create misinformation around it. Things like medicine, right, which like Chris has to gain like a study for like 6 years to get a medical degree. These are complicated topics, right? So it's very easy to create misinformation around it. Like same with the economy, right? And then when there are a lot of emotional things like political rumors and things like that, again, it's very easy to create misinformation around it because everyone is emotional. They're not thinking logically, right? Also, when there are mysterious, things that are taking place with no proper information around it, that's another aspect where misinformation is very easy. Things like conspiracy theories, like the like the COVID-19 situation where we don't know where it really came from or what were the circumstances around it. So it's very easy to create misinformation around it. And then finally, like obviously there are people who want to profit and want to gain something out of something. And again, there you can very easily create a lot of misinformation. So keep these reasons why misinformation exists in your mind, because these kind of misinformation have been around forever, right? But it's never reached this level before. Right? The reason it has reached this level is because of the internet, right? Because it's easier more than ever to make believable content, right? So we have Photoshop, we have things like deepfakes. Let me just show you guys this video. Can you hear the audio? No, right? Okay, let me reshare my screen. Yeah, can you see the audio? Sorry, can you see the presentation? Is it the full screen or the presentation? Full screen,
See the matrix.
Okay. It's a presentation. So, it's a presentation. Okay.
Trump is a total and complete dipshit. Now, you see, I would never say these things, at least not in a public address, but someone else would. Someone like Jordan Peele. This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet.
Yeah, so this is a video of what we call a deep fake, where you can use AI, artificial intelligence, to make it look like someone is saying something that they didn't. Right? It's very easy. Anyone can do it at home, right? Like I could do it at home, you could do it at home, which is really scary, right? So we need to understand that there's this, it's very easy to make fake content, right? From Photoshop to deepfakes. Then obviously it's very easy to share memes and forwards and things like that on the internet, right? So yeah.
You can see your presenter mode as well. Like the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Yeah. So because memes are funny and sometimes these forwards make us feel like they're real information, it's very easy to spread this misinformation. Then also we need to realize that journalism has changed a lot as well. You used to buy papers or subscribe to papers or pay for it, but now money is made by these journalists by the number of clicks that they have for their websites, right? So you end up with these clickbaity headlines that make you want to click, and that's how these organizations make money, right? And we laugh about these clickbait headlines, but there are also headlines that make us very emotional and angry and get riled up. Those also fall under this category, right? Also, the very nature of social media, right? Like, so first and foremost, our old friend, the infinite scroll, right? Because we have this infinite scroll, it's very easy for us, because our attention spans are so bad now, to just completely, just see a headline without actually reading through the actual information. Also, the backbone of the internet are these things called recommendation systems, right? So they are built by AI, right? So you see this in YouTube, TikTok, or Netflix, right? They show you what you want to see, right? Now, this is kind of cool when it comes to Netflix, right? Because it tells you what you want to watch. But it's also happening to our news and the groups we follow and everything, right? So without us even knowing, we form into these bubbles called echo chambers, right? Where we only see things that we want to see, right? And humans love this, right? We don't want to be challenged. We just want to see the things we already believe in being confirmed, right? So this is called confirmation bias, right? We all have this bias towards wanting to believe in the things we already believe in, right? So basically, because of this, we have a whole bunch of problems, and Nishan will come in now and tell you guys about it.
Yeah. So so next let's just go and see why misinformation and disinformation is a big deal. Going into misinformation, actually, misinformation, just for recap, misinformation can be half truths, inaccurate information, unreliable or unverified information. Now, these are information that get out there with no intention of harm. But the longer it stays out there in conversation within society, the harder it is to tackle and correct. So, looking at misinformation in the COVID-19 era, you might have seen so much information or rather misinformation going around during COVID, which has led to trivializing the severity of the pandemic, equating it to the seasonal flu, questioning the effectiveness of wearing a mask, washing hands, and even physical distancing. And saying that Kuthamali and that what's that called, Damika is amazing against COVID. And it can go as far as to questioning experts and the vaccine, as to say there's some hidden agenda. So all of this can lead to really detrimental effects, putting vulnerable people of society in harm's way. And that's that's misinformation. So let's see why disinformation is a big deal. So disinformation again is false or manipulated information that's purposefully put out there to change public opinion. Now this can lead to really nasty outcomes in society. And yeah, going back to so disinformation has been used long before the internet, by the way, to bend the opinions and beliefs of people, so to gain political power or to break down democracy. Hitler actually started his career as a politician by spreading disinformation about how the Jews are plotting with the Wall Street goons and communists to humiliate Germany and keep Germany poor. The context is that Germany, after the First World War, Germany was a really poor country that was in disarray. And then we also see Joseph Stalin. He was famously known to have edited photos to spread false narratives. Some say he's the original Photoshopper in his time, way ahead of his time, actually. So yeah, but unlike in history, with the internet and social media, it is so much easy to spread disinformation nowadays. You could, I mean, back in 2015, I don't know if you guys remember when the U.S. election happened, covert Russian groups spread false information about Hillary Clinton through leaked emails, so to speak, to discredit her candidacy. And even this year, early this year in Jan, you saw Donald Trump going about saying that he actually won the election, and uh, the current results are just fake news or just fraud, outright fraud, which again led to an insurrection in the capital. So going forward, things can only get worse with new technologies like Marlene showed, like deepfakes and even voice manipulation software that's dangerously available also to the public. Like you guys can go about and use this deepfake software. So don't do it, but yeah, just play around if you want to. But yeah, don't put disinformation or misinformation out there. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, thanks, Nishan. So we'll hand it over to Sandeep.